Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Got a loaded show today. The Timberwolves, they won. The Vikings, they're going overseas twice, but there's some cool things going on in the NBA right now. The lottery, is it fixed? And I also have a proposal for the NFL. We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and it's a beautiful Tuesday in Minnesota. I don't know where you're listening from, but I thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're in Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, California, wherever. We thank you guys. Thanks to everybody that watches on YouTube. Thanks to all those that continue to download the apps on Roku or Amazon Fire. We appreciate that as well. And make sure you guys subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. And like I said, in today's show, we're going to talk about the Timberwolves. They are 3-1. 3-1, to have the Lakers in 5, potential to close out the Warriors in 5. And then the Nuggets and the OKC Thunder have been beating each other up. So you're going to have a tired team potentially showing up into Minnesota, or, you know, they're going to have to travel either way. But sorry. Nuggets could knock them off, and then they could, you know, the Timberwolves could have home court advantage, but they have to travel either way when you think about it. But they're going to be a tired team coming to Minnesota. And Anthony Edwards is doing just that. The NFL has announced the international schedule. They always do that the day before the schedule comes out. We'll get the full slate of games tomorrow, but the international schedule is announced, so we'll talk about that. But also, the lottery happened. Cooper Flag is going somewhere, and we'll talk about that. So as I bring my co-host to the show, Luke Inman. So Luke Inman is let's call it a substitute backup quarterback, maybe
like that.
Case Keenum to the Sam Bradford,
Thank you.
No different in talent, and has a chance to create a miracle. But I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Do you have finances and things and money, you don't know where they're going? Well, just go into Monarch Money. Use the code Locked On NFL at Monarch Money. That's MONARCH money, you know how to spell that, .com for 50% off your first year. That's code Locked On NFL. Sorry for those listening. My voice is a little raspy. My daughters are in the heart of softball season, and when that happens, my voice is the first thing to go. My plan today, both my daughters are playing today. My youngest daughter has 2 games. My older daughter, we'll find out if she's going to be able to play today. She got hit in the head with a ball last night during warmups, of all things. She is an 8th grader, and she is the number 4 player in the state for stolen bases. And so she is number 4 in the state for stolen bases. For underclassmen, she's in the top 5 players in the state. And she's just an 8th grader. And so I'm excited for her, but it was a sad moment last night when she found out she couldn't play yet again, 2nd year in a row. First year she broke her hand against before we played Chanhassen High School, which is where we live, but she goes to Southwest Christian. And then last night, the concussion right before the game, or not concussion, sorry, got hit with the ball, because she woke up this morning. She said she was fine. She had no concussion symptoms. And so we have a test today at 2:30 to just see if she's cleared to play. If she's cleared to play, she's going to play today against Delano. Because I know she's worked hard this season. She's done a lot. We hit off the machine yesterday before this incident happened. She was able to hit 66 miles an hour off the machine. And for those that understand in softball, most college softball pitchers are at 60 to 62. The elite ones are at 66 to 68. And then there's like 1 or 2, Jordy Ball at Nebraska. And then, and I don't want to, Carlin, I forgot her last name, Pickens or Pickett. I think it's Carlin Pickens. She's at Tennessee, and she's the woman that broke the college work record at 78 miles an hour. Also, the College World Series, they did the selection show for them. I know there's not a lot of softball fans that follow football, but I do. And so they did their selection show. So I'm looking forward to some softball starting out every day this week. For me, That's like you guys in your March Madness. That's what softball right now is for me. You got the selection show. You got games going to be all day in the next week or two, leading up to the road to Oklahoma. And maybe one day Oklahoma will lose the World Series, but it's a great facility, and I think they built it just for them to be able to host. But that's what's going on in my life. Luke, thanks for joining me. Thanks for backup quarterbacking, I guess, or relief pitching.
Yeah, I had to put the clipboard down. Put the helmet back in. Real quick, just off the top, Ron, a lot going on in your life, just branching off what you said. First of all, I know you're a big movie buff. School of Rock, Jack Black. I'm like Ned Schneebly coming in, the substitute teacher today, okay? But also, boy, double.
You're like Kirk Cousins to the RG3, though. You're more like Kirk Cousins to RG3.
I appreciate that. You're raising the bar a little high, but I appreciate that. But a double header on a Tuesday. A lot going on for the Donners, I know. And again, are you going to pull a Dion here, fourth in the state in stolen bases? Are you going to pull a Dion and show up to all the recruiting meetings and say, hey, you know what? We decide where she's going to go. All right.
No, I just pray that one day she gets an offer. Like, we don't know what the future is going to hold for, but she's hitting 400 right now at the plate.
Wow.
As an eighth grader on varsity, she's a leadoff hitter. She's leading the team in stolen bases. She's tied for the leading hits. She's one of the top 3 in on-base percentage. So she's doing well. She's doing well for an eighth grader. You know, it's a lot to ask of an eighth grader, not being at the high schools, so just showing up, and all of a sudden you're the leadoff hitter for a bunch of, 18, 17, 16-year-old girls who can drive.
Man.
You're having to get dropped off at every game by your dad. So it is a lot to ask of her, but she's done it with grace. She's done it with courage, and she surprises us. And it was tough, especially because we live in Chanhassen, so we really wanted to face. This is the second year in a row we wanted to face this team, and she's not been able, because your leadoff hitter sets the tone. And I think that's what she does for this team. When she gets on base, like the last tournament they just played in, she was 9 for 12. Getting on base. So that's what, 750. So
Tony Gwen numbers here. We're talking about Dion numbers leading off.
She did good in the tournament. They just played for the high school last weekend. So it was a high school varsity tournament. She went 9 for 12 with on base percentage. So she got on base almost every time. And the 3 times she didn't, they were hits, but she got thrown out. So no strikeouts. So 12 at bats, no strikeouts for an eighth grader. That's
Sounds like the Joe Mauer. Sounds like the Joe Mauer.
I don't know about that. She has good hands. She has good eyes. And again, to get to 66 miles an hour hitting wise, she's hit 70, which, a lot of girls her age, a lot of girls period can't do, but she's done it. So I think, the next 4 years, we got a long time with this. We got a long time, but got to jump into this Timberwolves. Speaking of, so for those that are watching on YouTube, for those that are checking us out on the Amazon Fire and the Roku, yes, this is the Mr. Grinch t-shirt. Why am I wearing this? All my t-shirts have a theme for the show. Anthony Edwards played the Grinch, and I apologize to Cannon Curry and the Curry kids, but Christmas was stolen. The whole stadium, every kid that was in attendance, I apologize, but Anthony Edwards played that bad Kobe, that Grinch, that Michael Jordan, that I hate you, you hate me, stop me. Like, that's what Anthony Edwards was. And watching that game, it was close at first. And then all of a sudden, 5-point lead went to 7-point lead went to 10. I think they went on like a 15-something run, 15-5 or 17-4 run. Was it 17?
Nothing run.
Man, that was
third
nuts.
Quarter explosion. Yeah.
And so you just saw the 20-point gap. And at that point, it was over. Now, at the end of the game, I don't know who stayed up. I stayed up to watch the end just because you never know what might happen. They brought it back to 7. Like, it got a little close at the end. Thank goodness Steph Curry wasn't healthy, because I think that the Warriors would have played the foul, shoot the 3 game. But without Steph Curry, I just think they kind of felt like, you know what? Let's just try to steal the ball. If you can't steal it, man, just play it out. But Anthony Edwards was masterful. I love Julius Randle's counteraction to Draymond Green. It feels like Cat would have been baited into some of that stuff, whereas Julius Randle, like, whenever he has a foul or loses the ball and Draymond's talking, you can see Julius Randle just kind of look at him like, man, shut up. Like, it doesn't bother him. Where I feel like Cat was emotional at times. It got to him. He would do something stupid offensively. Rudy Gobert as well. He got held up. I don't know if you saw that. He got tied up by Draymond. It looked like Draymond was trying to be like, well, I'm not a bad guy, man. I'm a little bit of I'm a dirty player, but I'm not a bad guy. I got you. And then you saw his teammate, I think it was Nas or Jaden, came over like, man, let him go. Like, get off my guy, man. Like, you ain't about to choke him. We ain't letting that happen. And, Dante DiVincenzo was talking trash. I think that was a huge get for the Timberwolves. I know we're going to talk about the trade a little later, but that was a huge get because, again, attitude, bravado, the ability to be like a New York street kid. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how many championships y'all won. That was always Klay Thompson's thing. He would 4. He would always flash the 4 when teams would talk trash to him.
That's you at Lifetime. Rings. That's you at Lifetime. I've seen you. I've seen it.
I got 4. So that's where Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, they're not letting that happen. They're not letting them get to him. But Anthony Edwards is the greatest equalizer out there. Like, he's knocking down threes, buzzer threes. And I just feel like the Warriors are all but done. I mean, to be honest, I think it's going to end, if not in 5 and 6. It would suck to have to go back to Golden State to win it in 6, because then it gets a little sketchy where you're like, okay, the referees could put this in the hands, and then you might get Steph Curry back. I think if you end it in 5, Steph's not coming back. I don't know. That hamstring probably is worse than what we think and what they think. At his age, too, he's not bouncing back like he used to. His whole life is about, like, if he was a big, I could see him maybe limp up and down the court and get away with it just to say, hey, we just need you to be in the way. But Steph, his whole thing is built on speed and running, and that hamstring, it is what it is. So I think it's going to end in 5 in Minneapolis. I think they'll be done with that. They'll get to rest, stay home. Anthony Edwards is, the story continues. He didn't get to slay Steph. That's the sad part about this win, is I know he wanted to slay LeBron and slay Steph, and then there's nobody on OKC. I guess we already slayed the Nuggets, but maybe slay the Nuggets or OKC. But, what did you see in Game 4 that kind of gave you hope that this is a team that can win a championship? Because that's the next step to this. Like, we know they can beat the Nuggets and the Thunder. They beat both. We know they can beat them. But can they go over to the East now and maybe beat the Knicks? Yeah. Because I think the Celtics are done. Jason Tatum doesn't look like he's coming
back.
They're
toast.
That injury did not look good. Even if it's, because I thought it was an Achilles. I hope not. It's not a joke and it's not funny, but Jason Tatum loves to say Kobe and do Kobe stuff, and he's weird. Somebody's like, maybe he's going to fake an Achilles injury just to really be the Kobe arc, like to come back stronger than ever. And I'm like, that would be the corniest thing ever. Or he was going to Paul Pierce it and come back out after a wheelchair brought him and try to win it back for the Knicks in the next game. Who knows where he's going with this, because Jason Tatum is super dramatic, and it feels like everything's a cartoon with him. But I just feel like the Knicks are all but on to the next round. And the way Jalen Brunson's playing, I feel like the Knicks they look pretty unbeatable. Like, I like the Pacers too, but I don't know. Like, the Knicks look pretty unbeatable. And so it could be Knicks Timberwolves. Does this team have it?
The Knicks are clicking right now for sure. Let me just start kind of big picture, broad overview. You touch on a lot of good topics here. I think if you asked any just casual, even expert sports fan heading into, well, maybe outside of Warriors fans, I should say, heading into this series, after they just beat the Lakers 4-1, you just knocked off LeBron and Luka. You put that on Ant's resume now, his hit list. As you said it, the Timberwolves are the better team on paper, top to bottom, between them and the Warriors. And that was with a healthy Steph Curry on the court. I mean, Vegas had the Timberwolves like minus 200 to win this series. That was with a healthy Steph Curry. Then you think about the fact they lose him with the hammy. And at that point on, at least on paper, it almost felt like, Ron, the only way the Wolves should lose any more of these games is if they either shoot themselves in the foot and play down to their competition, which we have seen them do quite a bit this season, or B, they just come out and just don't match the energy of the Warriors. And that kind of looked like it was going to be the case in Game 3 until Ant and Julius kind of flipped the switch again, put the team on their back, and they got the victory those last 6-7 minutes of that Game 3. But honestly, Ron, for me and my money, that Game 3, you go back to that Game 3, it felt like the Warriors had thrown all their best punches. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at the Wolves that night, and the Wolves took their best shots, and eventually it was like, man, Golden State's just got to run out of gas here sooner than later. And then sure enough, come the third quarter last night, it finally happened, right? 8:30 left in the third quarter. Wolves are down 2 points. And then Anthony Edwards just flips that switch, goes beast mode, making 3 after 3. Julius is playing bully ball all night in the paint. They end up with the 61 combined points between Ant and Julius last night. 22-point differential, though, Ron, in the third quarter. Outscored them 39-17. That was the best single quarter of basketball by the Wolves in playoff franchise history. So I think if they make it to the chip now, when this is all said and done, we might look back on that third quarter last night and say that was the turning point that kind of got them to where they want to go. They flipped that switch. They put it all together finally and started playing their best basketball, because sitting there at halftime, for me, I kept saying it really felt like they're just one good quarter of basketball away from running away with this entire series. And obviously they still got to go seal the deal now tomorrow. But it as of this moment, it feels like they've got all the momentum in the world, and they do truly feel like they are the better team, hands down.
Yeah, when you look at the way the brackets are set up right now, you got the 2-2 Thunder Nuggets. That's the only one that's close right now. So it could be anybody's game. I think they play today, right?
They play today.
Yes, today correct. At 8:30 p.m.
Yep.
Eastern Standard Time. You got the Timberwolves Warriors 3-1. You got the Indiana Pacers and the Cavs 3-1 as well. Yep. And then you also have the Knicks and the Celtics 3-1. The Timberwolves and the Warriors are the only 6 and 7s in this. Like, this is the West is the weirdest, which shows how close every team was from. And Sam and I looked at this from 4, I think, or 3 to 8. It was like one game difference if you go down, like where anybody could have flipped.
7 teams were within like 3 games.
Yeah,
it's just
like
wide
open.
Easily
been like the Timberwolves could have easily been the 3 seed or the 4 seed, and we did that whole exercise of like, what would you rather be? Who would you rather play? And this was the scenario that I said. I said I would rather be playing the Rockets. I would rather play the Warriors. I would I kind of listed it off. And at the time, probably people didn't understand why I was saying it or what was going on. I said, I'd rather play the Lakers. And if the Rockets could have done what they were supposed to do, it would have still worked out. Like we could have still had some of these games. And like, I don't think anybody in the West scares the Timberwolves. Nobody in the West scares the Timberwolves. In the East, nobody scares the Timberwolves. Like the Celtics were the big bad wolves at one point. They're not anymore. They huffed and they puffed and their house got blown down now. The Knicks, that bravado. And again, because we'll talk about this next. Who won the trade? The Knicks gave Cat a different type of feeling. They called him, I don't know, do you know his nickname now there in New York?
I don't know. Lay it on me.
So, I don't know if this is true. I was on K-Fan with Common Man.
Okay.
So, you can't trust Common Man. You don't really know like what the hell's going on in his mind half the time. For those that don't know, that are national people that don't listen to Minneapolis stuff, Common Man is a kook that has a daily talk show on K-Fan Radio, the home of the Vikings. And so I was on his show last week with Kevin Gorg, voice of the Wild, and Little B, who's another local celebrity that works for K-Fan, and he said they call him the Bodega Cat. Because they got the corner stores that are bodegas, and so there's cats in every bodega, which is a corner store that sells cheesesteaks and all that. That's the big thing in New York, cheesesteaks. I want a New York style cheesesteak or a Philly cheesesteak. Which one is better? I want a bodega with a pizza. Give me a slice. I want a slice of pizza. That was the whole big thing. People walking around testing out pizza slices. That became a TikTok thing. I'm gonna go around and rate them. This is a 10. This is a 5. This pizza place is the best I've ever had. The Bodega Cat. I don't know if that's real because he's not the big meow anymore. He's the Bodega Cat. So I don't know if that New Yorkness has kind of like given him a different set of confidence to say, okay, this is who we are. Or the fact that the Knicks already had that type of attitude.
Yeah.
And so and again, the Timberwolves most likely win. Either way, they're going to be the road team heading to Denver or OKC either way. Before we jump over to this, your next question, and I'll let you tee it up. You can talk and then tee me up for the next one. But would you rather face the Nuggets or the Thunder?
I don't even think it's close right now. I think it's the Denver Nuggets, because not only, Ron, do we have the pedigree already? We've already shown that we can go toe to toe, and over the last 5 games with Denver, we're 4-1, I want to say. But I just look at the depth. I just look at these rosters once you get in the playoffs, top to bottom, and obviously the NBA basketball as a whole, it's always going to be who's the most top heavy, who's got the studs, right? Who's got the superstars at the top. But when you get to the playoffs now, and some of these series are going 7 games, and you got to turn around 48 hours and go play a gauntlet team again, and bring your A game and make sure your gas tank is on full. I look at depth, man. I look at some of these rosters in Denver. They got 6 guys. And that 6th guy is Russell Westbrook. And as he's shown, 25% of the time, Russell Westbrook can lose you a game. Now, granted, 25% of the time, Russell Westbrook can go win you a game. But I just think Denver, hands down, is the team I want to face. I would feel so much more confident and comfortable. And if they were to lose against Denver, I would be thinking to myself, well, at least that was the matchup that I wanted. OKC just scares me a little bit more, a little bit deeper, a little bit more talented maybe. Obviously, SGA worries me quite a bit. Chet Holmgren and company, they got some serious talent as well. But Denver, I just feel like, hands down, give me that matchup because we've seen it before. Sometimes seen is believing, Ron. We've seen them go toe-to-toe and knock them off just last year as well to go to the Western Conference Finals. So give me Denver, hands down.
What's your next question?
So the next question here, Ron, and I really assumed, Ron, if you asked me this back in November or December, we'd be able to say we have an official winner of this cat trade. But, man, it's May 13th. We're sitting here on May 13th. The Knicks are up 3-1 on Boston, like you said. Wolves are up 3-1 on Golden State. I think with each passing day, Ron, it feels like one of those rare win-win trades for both teams you just don't see very often in sports. But I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to pick one today, can we finally officially name a winner of the cat trade between the Knicks and the Wolves that went down, remember, just a few weeks before the regular season started?
Yeah, and so the Vikings have been in this situation, the Stephon Diggs trade to get Justin Jefferson because the Eagles messed up and picked Jalen Reagor, so it might not have worked out. If the Vikings would have picked Jalen Reagor, we'd be probably looking at something totally different. We'd be like, man.
The Eagles picked Reagor one pick before, so he was gone.
So they could have picked Justin Jefferson, and they would have had Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown.
Can you imagine?
Or maybe they don't need A.J. Brown because they get Justin Jefferson, and then we get A.J. Brown in the trade. Who knows?
Yeah.
This is the multiverse of Avengers. You just never know what the situation could have unless you have Doctor Strange, and I'm guessing Doctor Strange sat there with Rick Spielman maybe and said, he's like, what would happen if I do this? And he's like, there's only one outcome. And eventually that was the outcome.
Well,
Justin Jefferson had to come to Minnesota in the
what multiverse do the Vikings win the Super Bowl? That's just the one.
I don't know. We got to find that one, man. I know Doctor Strange. Those that are Avengers fans, when Doctor Strange gave up his stone, and everybody's like, wait, why would he give up the time stone? You never give that up. Like a sorcerer would never give it up. And then the Sorcerer Supreme lady in New York, she's like, oh, if he gave it up, then he gave it for a reason. So here's mine. She gives it to the Hawk. That's the same thing as the Eagles. I think when Rick Spielman saw the Eagles take Jalen Reagor,
I think you're onto something here.
Him and Zimmer were like, looking at each other like,
what's the catch?
Like Robert Downey Jr. looking at Doctor Strange like, wait, is this the one?
What's the catch?
Is this the one situation you just told me about? Okay, we'll take Justin Jefferson. That's what this feels like. And so in that trade now, long term, the Vikings won. Yeah. Because the Bills don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. It didn't work out for them. So the Vikings eventually won. We might get an answer sooner than later with this trade because it might be Knicks versus Timberwolves in the NBA Finals. Now, if you ever want a storyline and you want this is rigged, give us this rigged situation, NBA. Give it to us, please. Because that would be cinema. Cat versus Julius Randle versus Rudy Gobert versus Anthony Edwards. Dante DiVincenzo versus Jalen Brunson and Jalen Brunson's dad. Like that would be cinematic. There would be so many arguments, so many petty comments being made, so much like having to split people up, break people up. It would be an absolute bloodbath of fun for us as viewers. Like it would be a great series. The Timberwolves don't have a natural enemy, I guess you want to say, like Knicks Lakers, Knicks Celtics. I think people would have loved to see Lakers Knicks. Like that's just old school. Back in the day it was Bulls Blazers, Bulls Celtics. Back with Michael Jordan. That was those days. Bulls Knicks.
Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, Timberwolves don't have that, and so I think we have to create them, which is this is one of the situations. Like we have to create, this could be it. Cat. Who won the trade? Again, I don't think we're going to know to the end of the season. I think it's going to, and right now it seems, you're right. It seems win-win. Like the Knicks have gotten better. They're getting further in this deal. The Timberwolves are better. I mean, they actually are going to get to where they got last year, the Western Conference Finals. Maybe Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo will get over the hump. So I would say that's the key. Now, because how far did the Knicks make it last year? Were they a first-round exit?
No, I think they won one series and then they got bounced.
Okay. And then the Timberwolves won two series, got bounced in the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
By Luka with the Magic, Luka Magic over
Kyrie
Rudy
and Luka.
Well, Rudy Gobert ended it. He kind of the Jaden McDaniels switch off. You see Jaden McDaniels kind of be like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
And then
as much as
dances.
Luka and Kyrie stole the show, it was like the big boys down low, right? Derek Lively and everybody else just pounding the paint.
They
Couldn't stop it.
They made it tough for the Timberwolves. So who won that trade? Too soon to say, but I mean, first gut reaction.
Yeah.
I feel like the Knicks would have been fine with who they had to get to where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Timberwolves needed not only Julius Randle, but Dante DiVincenzo's attitude. Like when they got into a fight with the Pistons, Dante DiVincenzo was the reason. Like you don't, and he was still like fighting with people and getting people under the pile. He got
thrown in the front row in somebody's lap, and he was still throwing bows in there.
That wouldn't have happened with just Cat. Like that fight doesn't happen that way.
Agreed. And sometimes you just need a change of scenery for Cat too, right? Yeah. I mean, 9 years in Minnesota, obviously just a hell of a career to this point, but sometimes you just need things grow a little stale. Granted, they just came off a Western Conference Finals appearance for the first time since KG era, but sometimes you just need to switch it up as we see in all sports. It feels like 15 years ago now, Ron, but I encourage people to go back and look at the first 30, 35 games of this Wolves seasons. Mm-hmm. The Wolves were 17-17 after 34 games. That's almost halfway through the regular season. They were a 500 team. Julius was hurt. DDV was dinged up. They would win 3 in a row. They'd lose 3 in a row. They'd win 4 in a row. They'd lose 4 in a row. I mean, this is the same team that never lost 3 in a row all year last season, Ron. So you're sitting at 17-17. Slowly but surely, though. And by the way, Finch was taking so much heat for Julius Randle, saying he's not a fit in this system. They're going to have to move on after this year. He stuck with them. Finally, they got everybody healthy for the first time really all year. They start logging some games under their belt. They grow some real, chemistry, cohesiveness on the court. And you fast forward, Ron, to the final 21 games of the year. Wolves were 17-4. They were the hottest team in the NBA down the stretch. Now you think about they beat the Lakers 4-1 or up 3-1 on Golden State. 24-6 over their last 30 games. I mean, if I'm an opposing team, the last team I want to see right now is the Timberwolves. And a lot of that does have to do with Julius Randle and what he's doing. Triple-double in Game 3, leads the team in points with 31 last night. He is without a doubt. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. He's playing the best basketball of his entire career right now, and he's doing it when the Timberwolves needed him the most. So I think Cap for Julius straight up, when you think about like the cap space that cleared for the Timberwolves, that alone is a win-win. Mm-hmm. Then you throw in DDV, and don't forget they got the Detroit Pistons 17th overall pick in this deal too. Don't get me wrong, the Knicks are pumped too. But I don't know how you don't lean just a little bit, just lean the Wolves' way in this trade if you were forced to pick a winner. Now, to your point, if the Knicks go win the chip, if they hoist this trophy and the Wolves lose in the next round, Knicks win the trade. They pulled the Tampa Bay Bucks, Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. The LA Rams, Matt Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, sell your soul for a Lombardi. You take that 10 out of 10 times if you're the Knicks. But right now, on May 13th, I'm leaning Wolves just by a little bit.
Yeah, and the only thing I struggle with is I want them to beat OKC because you want to make sure they get through the number 1 team so there's no asterisks. Because if the Nuggets find a way to beat OKC or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hurts a hammy or a butt and he falls, people are going to ask you, like you did. You faced the old LeBron, you faced the Curryless Warriors, and then you faced the old Nuggets without a head coach. Did you really deserve to be? Who cares? Give us the ring. But that's the only thing I worry about. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the NFL schedule release. Also, a quick observation of the NBA lottery for those that watch it. I got a quick stat to throw in the loop before we get back, and we got all that coming up next after a word from our sponsors.
Thanks, Ron. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. You ever go check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's so easy to lose track of your money, isn't it? Well, that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your own personal CFO. Monarch Money gives you full visibility and control over your own finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, all your investments, all your spending, all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building wealth. I know when I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much money I was spending every month on streaming services, right? Max, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, you name it. I had it, but now I budget smarter. I save more than ever. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for 50% off your entire first year.
Well, you got the NFL schedule. Before I jump into that, though, Luke, real quick, I want to say congrats. I know me and Sam talked about this, about the lottery. Sam wanted the Jazz to get the first round pick because David Locke, Locked On Sports,
of course.
The big boss, we were hoping that his team would get Cooper Flag. Unfortunately, they got the 5th pick. And so one funny thing about the lottery, so when people were thinking about tanking for, whatever, I forgot what we said was Cooper Flag's thing was like, was it sagging for flag? I can't remember.
Is that what you guys came up with?
I can't remember what it was, but since 2018, so 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and now 24.
Yeah.
The 24-25 season. The worst team in the NBA with the worst record, with the highest chance to get the lotto, the number 1 pick, 0 times. Since 2018,
you don't even want to be last anymore. You don't even want to be worst.
Zero tanking working. Yeah. You have the Knicks, you have the Warriors, Rockets back to back. Like,
man,
if you think there's a conspiracy, there might be. Rockets back to back, Pistons back to back, and then the Jazz. Mm-hmm. And so here's where I go with that too, real quick. I wonder if the NFL will ever do that. Like, I wonder if the NFL will ever say, instead of giving the worst team the best, let's give the bottom 5 maybe, or all the teams that didn't make the playoffs. If you didn't make the playoffs, we're just gonna throw you in the lottery. Like, screw this. We're gonna make 1 through let's say 16 teams make the playoffs now. 14, right? 7 teams now make it, so 14 teams make it. Mm-hmm. So you got 32 teams. My math's gonna be off, but whatever. 18. Yep. 18. And maybe you don't do that. Maybe you just do 10, and then after that you're slated. So 1 through 10 will be the 10 worst teams. They get in the lottery, they, shuffle. And then after that, 11 is, your record, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, down to 32. Because then it's the exit of the playoffs as well that to factor into this. That might be the biggest show ever seen if the NFL were to do a lottery. Like, that would be bigger than the draft.
Yeah, I'd call in sick.
That would be bigger than the draft. If you all of a sudden, because you went 0-17 or 1-16 or 2-14, and it still doesn't guarantee you're going to get whoever's coming out that year. Arch Manning.
Picking
like Arch Manning is the next name to keep an eye on for the next 2 to 3 years. Who knows what he's going to do? He's not Peyton and Eli, but Peyton and Eli both stay in school all the way up to the end, pretty much. But who knows? There's a new era of NIL. Who knows what the Archie, the Manning family is thinking. But moving on. So you got that. You got the lottery now. Congrats. The Mavs, who knows now? They got rid of Luka. They got Cooper Flag potentially, or maybe they trade for Giannis. Maybe they use this number 1 pick to trade it to the Bucks, and then they get Giannis for that. Who knows? Maybe. But when you think about the NFL schedule release, so we talked about the draft, we're moving on to NFL schedule release. The international schedule's out. So right away, quick reaction from you. Vikings are back-to-back September 5th and September 28th and October 5th overseas, Dublin and then London. What are your thoughts on that?
Boy, it's a lot. My initial gut reaction was like, are you kidding me? We're the first team. You tell me we're the first team out of all the teams. The Vikings are going to be the first team ever in NFL history to have to go play back-to-back games. Now, the Jaguars played back-to-back games last year in London, but the Vikings are going to have to play back-to-back games overseas in different countries. That seems like a huge disadvantage. But, I was talking to our guy, Arif Hassan and Luke Braun on the football party yesterday. And Arif kind of brought up a great point. Like, initially on paper, it does seem like quite the unfair advantage. But when you look at the NFC North teams, the 3 division teams, Packers, Bears, Lions, all 3 of those teams play 8 home games and 9 road games. Well, now with the Vikings this year in these 2 overseas games, they're going to play 8 home games, 7 road games, and 2 neutral site games. And they also don't have to go to Pittsburgh, Heinz Field, where they've never won. And they don't have to go to Cleveland, where they've only won 1 game in the last 7 matchups. So initially, yes, there's a lot of logistics to it. You worry about staying over there that long, especially having to travel from Dublin, Ireland, over to London now on a short week and what all that looks like. But if any team and organization can do it, and keep their head on straight and alleviate and disappear all the distractions during those weeks and the days leading up to these games, I think it is the Vikings and this coaching staff. And again, when you think about the actual home versus away games, actually the Vikings actually kind of come out ahead compared to the rest of the division. So that's my knee-jerk reaction there. Don't have to go to Heinz Field. Don't have to go to Cleveland on the road. That's kind of nice. And you know what? It's always cool to have at least one overseas game in Europe, Ron, waking up at 7:30, making sure you set your fantasy lineup for this 8:30 game. You got Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner in the booth. I'm looking forward to it. And again, the fact that the Vikings actually come out ahead in all this with the home away schedule, that just makes it feel a little bit better. A little cherry on top for that too.
So my gut reaction, like I'll be working for, so make sure you guys check out tomorrow night. I think it drops at 6:59.
Okay.
I'm guessing that's when they're legally allowed to drop it. But we recorded for the Minnesota Vikings the schedule release. So that's going to air tomorrow. Here's one thing to keep an eye on: September 7th, 14th, 21st, 3 games for the Vikings, right? Most likely 3 home games because they're going to be on the road for 2 weeks. So I think they're going to make it favorable. So it's going to have 3 home games back to back to back. So congratulations, Vikings fans. My guess is Packers are going to be in that. Then you're going to have 2 road games, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And then you're going to have your bye October 12th. And so they're going to get their bye October 12th. And then my guess is the 19th to give them a little bit more time as well. So you already because you got to get your sea legs back. You've been overseas for 2 weeks. I think they're going to have either a Monday night game on the 20th or the 19th Sunday night football. And so there's also going to be a potential of 4 night games as well. And so understand, people too, like when we're given the schedule, we're given the teams, we're given the home stands and all the stuff. We're not given the primetime times, though, and some of the stuff we are waiting on. So that's the reason why we can't just come out and say, here's the Vikings schedule, who they play. But one, I mean, it's a lot of money involved in the schedule release. So that's part of it. I know non-disclosures. I'm not going to get into that. But then the primetime, because the NFL has to fill it out with the primetime. And then you have to be nice to the guys. Like the Vikings have agreed to do this. You can force it. Yeah. But also within the agreements, you have to say, okay, here's why we'll help you out. We won't put you guys on the road within those first 3 weeks. So you'll have a 3-week homestand and then you'll go on the road for 2 weeks, because within 5 games to have a road game, and they still might, it could flip any moment. Like, again, because these are owners agreeing to this and trying to figure out, like you said, there's 8 home games for the Vikings. And so that means October, November is going to be a heavy road schedule. With a mix in there in December, because you're going to get 3 there and then you only have 5 left. So you got to spread them out. But I think for the Vikings, there's going to be a lot of money involved in this. The international for the NFL, this is going to be something to try. There's also something for them to figure out how to get more international games to keep guys just overseas and say, hey, look, it is a lot to be away from your family too for 2 weeks, but these guys are also millionaires. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So, and the team is billionaires. They're going to stay in the nicest hotels. They're going to have the nicest flight. They're going to have sleep pods and all that stuff. Like they're not sitting up
Delta One, right?
Yeah,
on the
they're
jet.
not sitting up on or even Qatar Airlines. Who knows? But they're not sitting up on Sun Country, just a regular plane traveling across these. These guys
on the tarmac for an extra 2 hours.
Have the nicest international planes to lay back, sleep, watch movies. Like they're gonna, all the amenities, the leg stuff for the I forgot what those are things. The leg things though. They're like they have cold can go through them, heat can go through them. The recovery. Yeah,
the recovery pads. Yeah,
recovery pads for your legs that you put. You put your feet in, your legs in, and then it helps with circulation. These guys are gonna have it all. And so, the families, there's going to be a lot for their families, because my guess is they're not coming back. I think some families are probably going to plan a vacation around that. Like, hey, let's go to Ireland.
For sure.
Wives show up on like a Friday for the Sunday game, and then they jump back on a plane and go over to London, and they spend a week in London. Like, I think the Vikings have this all planned out for the wives, the families. The owners are probably going to make sure they get a flight for everybody. Like, hey, we're going to charter a flight for families that want to go. They're going to make this like an experience. This is going to be epic. My other wonder, I'm guessing Power Trip is going to do something to be over there for a week somehow too. Like they're gonna, the Power Trip and KFan is going to find a way to get the Power Trip shows in these countries for these weeks and to do the initials overseas. It's gonna be a whole hoopla around it. But that's just my gut to that. When you think about being on the road for 2 weeks, it's just managing the expectations of the team. I know you had another question about.
Well, yeah, I do. Before I get to that, just to echo your thoughts, it's not the logistic nightmare traveling overseas for NFL teams like it was 10, 12 years ago either, Ron. Like I remember the Jags going over there a decade ago, and there's a big article and news releases about just how difficult it was to get the logistic stuff, like the printers over there, we forgot the power adapters. Oh, these adapters don't work over it. Like the logistics after doing this for a decade now are not nearly as bad as they used to be. Obviously, we saw the Vikings in London versus the Saints, the double doink game 2 years ago. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in week 5 last year. They know what they're doing. Okay. And not just the players and coaching staff, but all the training staff knows about the sleep schedules and how to avoid a lot of just tiredness and make sure they're at their peak once game time gets there and things like that. So again, on paper, it sounds very daunting, back-to-back weeks in different countries. Also, Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, and London, it's really the difference in distance from like Minnesota to Wisconsin, like from US Bank to Lambeau Field. So it's not this long, drastic another 8-hour flight you got to go through or anything like that too. But next question, just speaking about the schedule, I'm looking at this home and away, these matchups. And again, we'll find out tomorrow night what weeks all these are, but this is an insanely fun lineup of opposing quarterbacks the Vikings are going to face off when they're at US Bank Stadium. When people talk about the upper tier quarterbacks in the league, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Michael Penix, top 10 pick last year. I want to know what your top 5, maybe start at 5, work your way down to number 1, most anticipated games are that you're most excited about for the Vikings on this schedule.
Okay, so number 5.
And it can be any, it doesn't need to be home game. It can be the London game. It can be the Dublin game. Whatever you like. Whatever you like.
So number 5, for sure, Dublin, Ireland, Steelers. Like that to me,
cool experience.
It's just a cool experience. It's a cool game where, something that hasn't happened. And I would kind of put 4 and 5 together with, the Browns. Like that's both 5. Browns and Steelers that week, because that travel week, the staying overseas for 2 weeks, we're going to be doing Vikings game day live early twice in a row. So yeah, whoop-de-doo. I'm getting paid to do it. I'm not going to complain about it. It's not like I'm doing it for free. Like I'm fine. I hate when people complain like, oh, it's so early. And I know I'm probably going to complain at the time because it's going to be 2 back-to-back early Sunday mornings, but who cares? Like you're getting paid. Get over it. I'll
play this back for you that morning, that night before, when we're on the Gophers postcast, when we're doing the Gophers postcast at 11.
Get up early and do these 2 games. Yeah. Number 4 for me, and just because I want to see what this looks like, I'm going with where did it go? The Commanders, because Jaden Daniels. Like I want to see Jaden Daniels. A lot of mine are home games because of the opponent. My number 3.
Yep.
And this is still just because I want to see what they have. I want to see the Lions. Mm-hmm. Like I want to see where the Vikings stack up early against the Lions. Like that's the one I want for number 3. And go on the road. Like we know the Lions are coming here. I want to see them on the road because they went there and they looked like shell shocked. I want to see how JJ McCarthy's from Detroit, not from Detroit, but played at Michigan. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of a homecoming game for him being back at Detroit. So as far as a former college player being there, number 2, and, his former teammate, Aiden Hutchinson as well, with the Lions. So it'll be some good stories there if Aiden Hutchinson gets to finally sack him or if he's going to make Aiden Hutchinson look stupid and make a miss. Number 2, I got to go with, I want to see what Michael Penix Jr. looks like.
Ooh.
I know Joe Burrow's coming. I know Lamar Jackson's coming. I want to see what Michael Penix Jr. looks like.
I think people are underselling the Falcons game here.
Like Michael Penix,
top 10 rookie quarterbacks from last year.
Well, you got Michael Penix versus JJ McCarthy, just like Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor. Like I want to see this. Like the one pick difference of
this could be the future of the NFC quarterbacks generation.
What could you have had? I want to see Michael Penix and the Falcons walking to US Bank. Kirk Cousins, who knows? He might end up being a late add to the Vikings after training camp. You never know. You never know. And then the last one, of course, is the Eagles. Like Saquon Barkley, NFL champions in the building. That's number 1 for me. Like, if you can find a way to be competitive with the Super Bowl champs, that's the team you got to get through to get back to the Super Bowl. So that's mine. What about you?
No Lamar at US Bank. Only get to see Lamar once every 8 years. So this might be, who knows? This might be the only time, if you're a Viking fan, season ticket holder, whatever it may be, you want to go see Lamar Jackson live in person, up close and personal. This would be the year. I would probably, me personally, love the list. You got Eagles 1, Falcons 2, Lions 3, Commanders, Jaden Daniels 4, and then both the abroad games, Steelers and Browns, Steelers in Ireland, Browns in London, tied for 5. I like your list a lot. I respect that you put the Falcons in there. A lot of people I've asked this conversation, same question too, did not have the Falcons anywhere near their top 5. So I respect that because I'm excited to watch I love Michael Penix during draft season and at Washington. So I'm a Michael Penix guy. Obviously that week I won't be, but I would have to put Lamar and Joe Burrow in my top 5. I don't know what I'd take out. Maybe the Lions, I guess, but it's tough. My point is, I think the moral of the story here, Ron, it's a fun schedule. Win or lose, like these are fun matchups on paper. And again, elite quarterback. I didn't even mention Justin Herbert. They got to go to LA, but you're going to see Justin Herbert and John Harbaugh and all these guys too. So I'm excited, man. And I'm excited to see how many, because these are such great matchups on paper, ended up being primetime games this year. Because I got to think as far as the NFL goes, they're looking at these games and going, this is juicy, man. We got to get a couple of these Vikings games on primetime for sure. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah, and
I kind of got a schedule. I can't show you guys, but I kind of got a schedule like mapped out. Like I knew 4 and 5 were Steelers, Brown. Not I knew. I found, we found out all together. Those 4 and 5, because we knew there was going to be 1 international game. We knew potentially 2. That was the question. Was it going to be back to back? There's been rumors. But just messing around with the schedule, trying to see how close I get to when I finally it hits the airwaves. That's always fun for me. I love kind of trying to figure it out because I look at other Twitters too, Lions Twitter, Packers Twitter, because they're going to give away some stuff too, to say, hey, it looks like we're playing the Vikings on Christmas. And I'm like, yep, I got that one figured out. But yeah, I think 1, 2, and 3 are going to be home games for the Vikings, 4 and 5 on the road. Because there's no way you can make them go internationally twice and put them on the road for weeks 1 through 3. So 3 home games, 2 on the road by week 6, and then from 7, 8, 9, I'll start to like flesh it out the rest of the day. But we got about 2 or 3 minutes left in the show. We'll be back with the daily 3, but a little would you rather, or Luke's put something together.
What's more likely?
What's more likely? And we'll do that after.
I'm borrowing this from Rich Eisen. What's more likely? Right after this, coming up right after this. All right, Ron, let me segue in here. Let me tee you up. Let me toss you a little softball here. Our daily 3 segment. I'm a big Rich Eisen guy. He always does a weekly bit with his co-host Brockman, and they do a what's called What's More Likely. So I got a Vikings edition, a 2025 Vikings edition. 3 quick questions here for your daily 3. Let me start you out with this. What's more likely to be a top 5 unit for the Vikings in 2025? The Vikings offense or the Vikings defense? What do you think?
Offense. I'm going offense just because they have the weapons. Defense, it feels like it's a boom or bust defense with Brian Flores and getting sacked. So I got to go with the Vikings offense will be a top 10 unit when you have Aaron Jones, you have Jordan Mason, and you still have all the weapons at receiver and tight end. You get TJ Hockenson a year removed from his ACL. And then you got JJ McCarthy, who's a little bit younger, a little bit more mobile. We'll see what he can be, though. But he slung it at Michigan. I think Kevin O'Connell's going to get the best out of him. What's next?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I was just going to echo your thoughts. I'm a little bit worried about Brian Flores more than most, as far as just people figuring out the Brian Flores defense, kind of like people figured out Mike Zimmer's defense at the end that last year or two. But I'm totally with you. Seeing is believing. Nobody believes in this Vikings offense can be a top 5 unit yet until they watch JJ McCarthy. I think the issue is nobody's asking themselves, what if JJ McCarthy is really good, though? What if he looks like a top 10 pick? And then if that's the case with J.J. Hawkinson, Addison, all these weapons, the new running game, the new O-line, absolutely, they have the ceiling to be a top 5 unit. Next one up, higher total, number of primetime games on the Vikings schedule, or number of touchdowns scored by Andrew Van Ginkel. Which one's more likely?
Primetime games. I think the Vikings are going to get 4. I think Andrew Van Ginkel is going to have 3, maybe 2. But I think the Vikings are going to have 4 primetime games, if not 5. But I think 4 for sure, because I know the last one could be a TBD. The last 2 could be TBD and flexed, because we got flexed last year.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think 4. I think they're going to get 2 Monday night football games, or a Monday night, Sunday night, and then I guess we're calling 325 primetime, and I think they have 1 or 2 of those. So, I think they're going to get 4.
I think that makes sense. If the number is 4 primetime games, absolutely agree. Originally, when I wrote that out, I didn't know how many primetime. I was thinking hopefully 2 or 3. If the number's 4, that number's just too high.
Could be 3, but I think it's gonna be 4. I just feel like the Vikings with Justin Jefferson and this new quarterback, I think the NFL wants to take advantage of. Okay, we have a new quarterback, and that would have been the best drafted quarterback in this draft. So now you get a kind of a rookie versus Joe Burrow. You get a rookie versus Jalen Hurts. You get a rookie versus the Falcons.
Jaden Daniels
potential. The other one that I think could be I think Eagles, either Ravens or Bengals, but probably Bengals, Eagles, Bengals, maybe even the Commanders with Jaden Daniels. Those are 3 primetime. And I think Bears, Packers, one of those always ends up being Monday night.
Correct.
So I think that's the other one.
All right, last one up here. What's more likely? 2024 rookie quarterback to have a Pro Bowl season. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, or J.J. McCarthy? Which one is most likely to have a Pro Bowl season this year?
That's tough. Oh, man. Ben Johnson. I don't think it's Michael Penix. Johnson, I think is going to do a lot to get Caleb Williams to that Lions type of Jared Goff. But I think J.J. McCarthy, with Justin Jefferson, potentially could easily throw for 4,000 yards with this offense. And so I feel like it would be J.J. McCarthy. I don't feel like Caleb Williams – they're going to throw as much. I mean, they're going to throw, but I don't know. I don't know if they've done enough on their offensive line. I feel like the Vikings offensive line is real solid.
Yeah. I'm going back and forth between Caleb and JJ. They've just loaded Caleb up with all the toys, but as we've seen in the past, that just only goes so far sometimes with a young quarterback. But Ben Johnson having as we see with KOC and all his quarterbacks, obviously goes a long ways too. But drafting Colston Loveland now this year, Roma Dunze's just scratching the surface. Still got DJ Moore. But the question is, to your point, Ron, do they have the offensive line to protect Caleb Williams? Because he took a lot of sacks and a lot of hits last year, and I think starts to get in your head a little bit, a la David Carr, Houston Texans after a while. So I'm with you. I'll go J.J. McCarthy in the dome, playing at home in a dome, half the season. Well done.
That'll do it for us today. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Luke Inman. Thanks for joining us on the Ron Johnson Show. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. Just search Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. It's free. You just need an email address. Just click it, boom, and it's right on your phone. Most of you have iPhones or Androids. It loads right up on your YouTube app. And then whenever we launch stuff, whenever we have like special releases, we're definitely going to do a schedule release, quick video tomorrow potentially, or even on a Thursday show when I join. I'm going to talk all about the schedule release stuff that I did for the Vikings, but also my thoughts about this full schedule once we have it. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow and for sure on Thursday to get all the schedule talk with Arif Hassan, Luke Inman, Luke Bryan, maybe Sam Ekstrom from overseas, but then I'm going to join as well and do my weekly stop in on the football party. I'm Ron Johnson. That's Luke Inman. Thank you guys. Have a great week.